Metro Conservative Forum. I'm just so happy to see so many people here. It just goes to show you what a great community Santo is. So let's just get going on this here. We're going to start like we always do with a prayer. So would Rick please come on up and lead us?
Should we stand?
Please. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you, God, for this great state of Texas. We thank you, God, for Palo Pinto County. We thank you, God, for this town of Sandsville. I ask you, God, we ask you, God, that you please bless this evening for great conversation and for learning. We ask you, God, that you please bring wisdom to the candidates, that they are able to present themselves throughout this campaign season, and how they will serve the people around them. We ask you, God, that you please be with those for whom win and those for whom do not, that they all still continue to work together. We ask you, God, that you please be with each and every person represented in this room and not in this room for whom are a part of this great community. We thank you, God, for all these things. We thank you, God, for the wisdom that you are bringing to this table. In your name, Christ Jesus, we thank and praise you, Lord, Heavenly Father. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Rick. Okay, now we're going to stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Okay, so go ahead and sit. Sorry, everybody. So the first race that's on our schedule is the commissioner's race. And so if you wouldn't mind coming up to the front, it's Jeff Fryer, Tim Bezio, and Andrew Watts. Did I say something wrong? Oh, someone's just calling someone's name. Okay. Oh my, I've said these names so many times now. Okay.
Joey Christian?
Oh, yeah, go ahead and have a seat. And those that are running for precinct chair, because I know a guy has to leave and I want him to have his moment before he has to go to a meeting. Would y'all stand up that are running for precinct chair? Some are standing over there, but yeah. And then Ronnie Patterson is waving his hand over here, and I'd just like to give him just a quick minute, just because he has to leave, but he tried to make every meeting he has in town, so here he is.
Hi folks, I'm Ronnie Patterson. I'm running for precinct chair in precinct A. I would appreciate your vote. I'm a longtime Palo Pinto County resident, having resided here over 60 years. I am 78 years old, if you want to know, and I had to spend a little time in Sugar Land and a little time in Weatherford. But we've been home now for nearly 30 years, and we're glad to be here. This is my home. I would like to instill country folks' values and country folks' help for each other. So, appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, without further ado here. Sit here, David, take your cards. Okay. We have a timer as well here. So this guy, right, when you see the yellow, that's 30 seconds, and that's 5 to wrap it up. So the first question is just an introduction, and we're going to start with Jeff Fryer.
I got the honor. Huh?
Yes, you have the honor, and feel free to go right on up there. And you know, tell me if that mic is good, you got it. All right. So we're going to just say, introduce yourself and tell us why you are the best person for this position.
I think take 20 seconds. So, my name is Jeff Fryer. I've been county commissioner here for 19 plus years as your commissioner in precinct 4. This part up here never gets easy for me to do, to stand up in front of all of y'all. So I would like to thank everyone for coming tonight, for the Santo community, for showing up, the Conservative Republican Party for having this tonight. And then I would like to also introduce my wife, Melinda, of 30 years. And the rest of my family for their support. Okay, I better hurry now. So I've served in Palo County for almost 2 decades, bringing a wealth of experience and in local government, fiscal management, and community advocacy. Since taking office in 2007, I have constantly advocated for transparency in all of the taxpayers' monies. I will continue to have a strong voice for the people of Palo County. When I started as commissioner, we were called road commissioners.
Okay, thank you, Jeff.
So, that is quick.
You'll have plenty of time to answer some more things, don't you worry.
Okay.
Okay, Andrew Watts. So Andrew, once again, introduce yourself and state why you are the best man for this position.
Okay, thank you. Before I introduce myself, I'd like to start by honoring my Savior and Lord Jesus Christ for giving me the opportunity to live in this country where we can come together here and have these kind of forums, Q&As. I want to thank the A.B. Gilbert Foundation for letting us use this facility to put this on. I want to thank the conservative group for putting this together, having us a forum that we could at least introduce ourselves to you if we haven't already. I know I've tried to make as many rounds as I can. If I hadn't, thank you. But my name is Andrew Watts. I'm a Christian conservative Republican running for Precinct 4. I'm a lifelong resident here of Palo County. In fact, this is in my front yard. I live just right down here. My previous work history, I've been in oil and gas. I've been in heavy equipment operator. I'm small business, self-employed right now. Was that good enough?
Yes, thank you.
I'll try to finish up.
To be
as I can.
continued,
I didn't realize it was going to be that quick.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Tim Bezio.
You ready? Good evening, everyone. I am Tim Bezio. I'm a lifelong resident of Palo County and a Quaker High School graduate. I own and operate a successful business, Luke Center Plus, for more than 20 years. The experience has shaped my understanding of what it takes to manage resources wisely, make tough decisions, and serve people effectively. As a business owner, I have learned how to balance budgets, solve problems, and adapt to changing factors, all the while keeping the best interests of my employees, customers, and community. Running a business is about accountability and results the same principle I will bring to the county commissioner vote. I know the challenges local families and small business face because I've lived them. I've dealt with regulations, economic ups and downs, and the reality of building something that lasts through hard work and dedication. Thank you.
Perfect. Tim, stay up there. Okay, you have 2 minutes to answer this question. So, a little more time for everybody, right? So, in the 2024 election cycle, the County Commissioners Court changed electioneering rules after the conservative group had success in the Republican primary in defeating Glenn Rogers and getting in some conservative precinct chairs. The county created an ordinance that changed Texas state law and threatened any electioneer with a misdemeanor who crossed over a new boundary line. What are your thoughts on this issue?
Well, I don't know about that.
Nothing?
I can't think, I didn't study for that. That's a tough one.
Go ahead, talk a little bit about yourself. so.
Talk about myself.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that they passed the new law and everything, so I'm that would be one of the questions that I'll have to do research on and get back to you, because I really do not know anything about what you're talking about.
Well, it went to the Fifth Circuit Court, and they ruled for we had to having to sue them for the county.
Yeah.
Because it was against our First Amendment rights. And then the Fifth Circuit Court sided with the conservatives, so it went back to the usual law in Texas. I'll just catch you up. So back to the 100 feet from the front
Front of the
door, yeah, same old thing.
Well, I don't think they should
Yeah.
be going
Yeah.
back in that, so I don't think you should be able to take people to the door when you're walking in a boat. You should leave people alone. If they want to come to you, they should come to you, and you should not go to them.
Okay. All right, well, thank you.
Thanks, sorry.
No, that's fine. You did great. Andrew? Do you want me to repeat the question?
No, no need to repeat it. The only thing I do know about the cost is the cost to the taxpayers is what I hated about the electioneering lawsuit, as far as having to go all the way to the Court of Appeals to get a decision made on that. And then I just hate that it had to come to a lawsuit to get something like that resolved. And if I have any more time, that's all I know about it. If I have any more time, I'd like to finish up on the remaining time I have on my introducing myself. Anyhow, I am a small business owner in the community. My previous history, I've worked in oil and gas production, lease operating. I was a project manager managing for a civil oil and gas company and a design and engineering land development firm. And I supervised 7 work crews, and we worked in 31 different states. I did all the budgeting for each project job that I was on, so I know what it takes to manage people in that role. I started my career out of college in law enforcement, working for the sheriff's department, and moving on to the PD. My wife, she'll be here shortly, she's basketball games. 15 years. I have 2 kids, Aubrey and Zane, and this year we have a foreign exchange student for Spain, which has been an interesting mix to the household. We're active members of the church right across the street, where I volunteer and help a young men's group, lead them on Wednesday nights. Also volunteer for Fellowship Outdoors at Santo Basketball. Previously and currently serving on several boards throughout the county, for Palapino ESD2, the Appraisal District Board of Directors, Santo Utility District.
Okay,
Sorry.
thank you. No, you're great. Thank you.
Thank you, sorry.
Jeff? Do you need me, some people want me to repeat the question.
Yes, please.
No. All right. In 2024, in the 2024 election cycle, the County Commissioners Court changed electioneering rules after the Conservatives had success in the Republican primary in defeating Glenn Rogers and getting in some conservative precinct chairs. The county created an ordinance that changed Texas state law and threatened any electioneer with a misdemeanor who crossed over a new boundary line. Well, since you were in the court at the
Yes,
time,
ma'am.
did you support this and why?
And I did, and I'll tell you why. Because when people were going to the election poll sites, they were being harassed by other individuals and not allowing them to get to their spot to go vote within that 100 yards. So then we came up with, we didn't know what we were doing. We were trying to figure out a way to fix this. And yes, y'all had to go and sue the county. And we went back to the rules, but we also went back by the Court of Appeals, what they recommend, so we could be legal with all that. So yes, I was involved in it, I did support it. But it didn't have nothing to do with anybody personally. It was just, people come to us, want protection, walk into the election site. So,
Okay, thanks.
yes, ma'am.
Do you want to add anything else since you have a little more time?
No, because I lost that piece of paper now. But
Okay.
I will say, I would like for everybody to come out and do your research before you make a decision tonight. Know your candidates and know what we're about before we go in to elect.
Do you know how much, it costs the county in law and, legal fees?
Not right off the top of my head, but I can get it for you.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I want to say Taft County covered most of that. Texas Association of Counties, I think covered most of that. I'm not for sure, but I think that's,
I know our lawyer just got paid $101,000 from the county, so I don't know how much the other side came up with, but,
I can do some research and I can get a
Okay.
call for you.
okay, no, thank you. I didn't know how much the county,
I don't think it was actually out of our pocket. I think the insurance does.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now first up is, am I confused here? Is it Tim? Tim. Oh, it's Andrew, sorry. Gosh, I'm sorry. 2 guys and a half, so sorry. Come on up, Andrew. You get 2 minutes for this question. What would you like to see happen with the Turkey Peak project moving forward?
At this point, we have a year delay until we decide to do anything decided. We all need water. We all know we need water. There's not a question about that. I support that wholly. I still have some reservations about the interlocal agreement with the county and the water district, but it's a signed deal, so that's not so much anything I want to discuss at this point. But I think we're gonna have a real problem in the delay with the recent AI and data centers coming up and TxDOT holding off all their projects. The materials are going to be almost impossible to get, so I think it's going to delay this project even further. I know the cost is going to be astronomical. Ward Mountain Road, the $20 to $25 million estimate to redo that, I think that is very conservative. I think it's going to be a lot more than that. The longer the delay, the more cost is going to be. But as far as the project itself, I mean, it's pretty much at the mercy of whenever the water district can get everything in play at this point. 30 seconds left. The only other thing I would say about it is just the fact that I think the interlocal agreement was rushed. I think now, especially now with a year delay, that should have been held off and not signed, because the county does not need to be involved with TxDOT and the water district on a road that the county has no interest in at this point.
Thank you. Jeff? Do you want me to repeat the question?
Turkey Peak project, has been one of my pet peeves, and most of you know it. 20 years ago, when I was standing up here, I had somebody tell me that Turkey Peak was going to start. And the lady in the front row said, when hell freezes over. So we're 20 years later, and guess what? They still haven't started. But yes, that is one of my biggest pet peeves. I would like Turkey Peak to get started. Where we get the money from, who knows? They didn't expect this cost of $400 million to pop up like this. Our grocery bills pop up like this. Our grocery bill didn't stay the same either. So, as far as the road, I'm not going to agree with Andy, but I will agree with Andy. They are going to come in and redo that whole road for a farm road tour, and they will maintain it they will pay the county to maintain it for 10 years after it's built. So, that's all I got to say about that.
Hey, thank you. Tim?
That question.
Yes.
Everybody knows the commissioners really doesn't have anything to do with the water. They can't decide it's been a well. Only thing the county can do is help support and push for them to get this done and help them any way they possibly can. And on the road, the commissioners can send someone out or himself and maintain and make sure that the road construction is done the way it's supposed to be done and not edges curved. We just need to make sure that the road is done right from start to finish. And, but it's a tough, because I'm like them, that now over time, it's gonna get more expensive and more expensive. And even if we get the money from the bill that was passed, I think that's 2029 before they're even going to decide to give money to the county. So that 400 million could be, 600-700 million. So we're gonna be behind already whenever we get the money. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Jeff, what now? Well, Jeff, who loves to talk, goes first again. So all you get to do here is talk about your closing statement, 1 to 2 minutes. You're almost through this.
I can finish this one. So, okay. So in closing, I will leave you with these thoughts. With 19 years experience in overseeing a multi-million-dollar budget, while maintaining quality service to the residents of Palapenny County, keeping the tax rate as low as possible while still doing projects such as upgrading district courtroom, road projects, adding new law enforcement officers for public safety. So with 19 years of experience and proven leadership, I believe that makes me the best candidate for Precinct 4. I have always been committed to transparency, accessibility, and addressing the diverse needs of Palapenny County residents, and will continue to do so. So thank you again for coming out tonight and have safe travels home. And remember, early voting starts February the 17th, and election day is March the 3rd. Again, thank you for your support.
Let me get my glasses, I'm older than Jeff. I appreciate everyone coming tonight. If elected as your county commissioner for Precinct 4, I will apply sound financial management to ensure taxpayer dollars, or apply sound financial management to ensure taxpayer dollars are used effectively and transparently. I will be committed to being a responsible commissioner in budgeting and road construction that will help protect our rural community and the way of life for today and generations to come. I am not a career politician. I am someone who believes in practical solutions. My background in business has taught me how to get solutions, things done, and I'm ready to put that experience to work for Precinct 4. I would appreciate your support and vote during early voting and on Election Day, March 3rd. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to reach me. I will listen. Thank you. Tim Beafield.
Bless your neighbor, and not a politician. I believe in open communication, transparency with responsible growth, and a budget that reflects your tax dollars, not a vote that 4 men at a table vote on. It needs to be voted in your favor, your tax dollars. Transparent budgeting and practical infrastructure investments are what we need. Progress is important, but it must be done with care. I will work to manage growth responsible by producing, protecting, and maintaining the character of our communities, ensure our development that serves local families and you, the taxpayer. I think after 19, 20 years, there's some complacency that sets in at anybody in office. And it will be a fresh set of eyes to look at things and maybe go a different direction on some projects that we have coming up in this county. Transparency is essential, making sure every voice is heard. My door will always be open. I'd like to visit with anybody if they have any questions after this. My cards are on the table. I'm available 24/7. I'd sincerely like to earn your vote. Come February 17th is early voting, and March 3rd, primary day. If you'd like to discuss any further, if you would, catch me afterwards. I'm open anytime.
Okay, so we are going to allow a few questions from the audience. Yeah, thank you. You did a great job. So does anyone have any questions for either three of these candidates? Oh, Dave Jones, here, hold on.
I apologize, the VA just gave me a new shoulder and a new ACL about 2 weeks ago. For all the commissioners, just a little context. We're all here tonight because one guy named James Otis Jr. in the early 1760s said taxation without representation is not right. That started the American Revolution. How does this apply to us tonight as taxpayers? Everyone in this room is a Palo Pinto County, not a city of Mineral Wells, has zero representation on the largest project in the history of Palo Pinto County, Turkey Peak. The largest in the history. My questions are the following. For over 10 years, the citizens have been told absolutely this project would not exceed $200 million. The first bids came in, the highest bid was $250 million over. The water plant was told it was about 20 to 45 million. A new 15 million gallon per day water plant at current cost is approximately $180 million. We don't know what Highway 4 is going to be, so here are my questions. Number one, will you support and encourage the other commissioners and Judge Long for legislation in the Texas legislature to move this district city water board, the only one left in the entire state, to be elected board members, positions to give Palo Pinto County citizens representation, especially when this affects every county resident who lives outside the city limits of Mineral Wells?
Absolutely. I've intentionally tried to get on the Palo Pinto Municipal Water District before I ever got on the Santo Water Board. You have to be a resident of the city of Mineral Wells to be appointed to that board with no term limits at all. When I was told that, that's when I decided to run for the Santo Water Board, because we have no voice in the water we purchase. So I'd absolutely encourage and support legislation to change that to an elected position.
Go ahead, stand up.
We can all sit here and repeat ourselves, but yes, plus we have other boards that need to be, the way I look at it, need to be elected positions too, like ESD 1 and ES2. They will also need to be elected by the people instead of putting this on the county court.
I agree with that 100%. That's another reason I've served on the ESD board as by appointment. That's another, like Jeff said, another board that needs to be elected. There is a problem with people in the community that want to run for those positions. So I would like to see people to step up.
Give you an answer.
Yes, I agree with them that we do need to have an election. Instead of having the commissioners vote to see who they want to put in there, but also people have to step up and run for these offices. And if they don't, because I do know that Mineral Wells right now, y'all have not got a contract with the city of Mineral Wells on your water rates, and your water rates are going up. They're pushing for 19 for 1,000, and Mineral Wells residents are paying $12 for 1,000. So that's something that Santo has to push together, and the commissioners really can't push them, but they can try to step up and try to push the city of Mineral Wells. And if we can get the election people that elected to the position, that they can step up and maybe someone can help change that where they're not charging y'all that live in Santo too much money for the water when everybody else gets it a lot cheaper.
Okay, I know this is the elephant in the room. Second question, will you commit to appointing, electing, or designating a Turkey Peak commissioner that tasks him or her and the entire county commissioners with a public letter calling on the water district to brief the county residents twice a year on the project status, updated costs, in a public town hall setting, and allowing questions from the residents?
I don't see why we would.
Is that to me?
All three.
I don't see why we wouldn't.
Why don't you start since you want second? Mr. Shea.
I don't see any issues with getting that done. I mean, they don't come to us, but we were asked to come to their meetings to be updated now. But as far as town hall meetings, I think that would be a good idea for them to do.
I absolutely agree. I would be 100% in favor of that, just to keep the public full transparency on what is happening, what the status is, good, bad, or indifferent. Because that has not been the case to this point.
And I agree. I think all, they should have a town hall. I think the commissioners should be sitting out here every day, not every day, but every so often, and take questions from y'all about things that's going on in the county. We should not be sitting back and then doing everything and never talk to y'all and find out exactly how y'all feel. The commissioners should be voting the way y'all feel, not the way he feels.
Appreciate you, gentlemen, just for showing up. It says a lot about you. And finally,
Oh, Dave, can we have one other person ask a question? Because, just in case.
and my last point.
I know, I'm so sorry. So, if there's anyone else, okay, yep, Casey McGlone. Here, can you pass that back, Lisa Jones, to Casey right behind you? Dave, don't hurt yourself. Okay, there you go. That should be better.
Well, this may be an unanswerable question, but given the delay with the Turkey Peak and knowing the interlocal agreement that the county has with the water district on the Ward Mountain Road, given the delay, is there any, of course, Tom, one of you can really answer this, but what I'd like to know is each of your stance on the former section of FM4 that we all thought would already be inundated by now, or getting close. It looks like it could be years now before that section of FM4 is inundated. So what would each of your stances be on maintaining that road until they start construction of the lake and then a local agreement comes into effect?
Well, the city actually owns that part of the road forward. They maintain that road, they're supposed to maintain that road. I do know Mr. Pryor had patched holes and stuff out of the county budget, which he didn't have to. But that's something that I believe that the commissioners should do if the city's not gonna step up. And, but if it takes too long, we're gonna have to step up and do something to make sure 4 stays passable and nobody gets hurt having wrecks. And then also on, you threw me off with that 30 seconds. But, Ward Mountain Road, we need to make sure it's done right when the time comes, so it's passable. Because I know there's lots of spots on Ward Mountain that is too narrow to widen, so it's gonna be a long process.
Take your second now.
I would support some kind of sit down and talk with the district again, because like as of now, when the winter storm week before last happened, the county, the commissioner had to go up there and take care of portions of that road. The water district does not have the manpower or the ability to take care of Farm Road 4 right now as it is. It shouldn't be on the burden of the taxpayers. The water district owns that portion of the road. Why is it costing the taxpayers more money to send on materials to service that area? So there needs to be some kind of sit down with the water district at this time to see what is going to happen with that section of the road and Ward Mountain. Because if we keep going along here, that year delay is going to continue to go up and up.
Check her out.
So to answer your question, we have been kind of negotiating with the city of the water district, Mr. Huffman, and he's willing to pay the county, reimburse the county for any materials that we have spent on that project. And I do know that he has, and you know it yourself, that he has been up there more than the state has in the last couple of years to fix stuff. So, yes.
All right, gentlemen, you are done. Thank you so much. Okay, so moving on to the next race. We are going to have the Justice of the Peace candidates next, which is Megan Hughes and Brent, oh gosh, I just had a, help me, Fuller, gosh. I had a senior moment, that's terrifying. Okay, so, I wanted to just go over one little thing here, because I didn't do it for commissioners, but a lot of people don't know what these jobs are, and so I have two sentences here. A justice of the peace is a local judicial officer who handles minor legal matters such as claims, misdemeanors, traffic cases, and preliminary hearings. In some areas, they may also perform marriage and issue warrants. So we did a coin toss, and Megan is second, so Brent, you're up. You weren't around, but she flipped and lost, so, or maybe you win, you won and said you wanted to go second, that was it. Okay, so, here we go. So, Brent, introduce yourself and tell us why you feel you are the best candidate for this position, and please include any previous legal experience you have had. You have 1 minute.
My name is Brent Fuller. I've lived here in Precinct 1 for 36 years. I'm married to my wife Nikki for 30 years. We have 4 children, a daughter-in-law, and I have 2 grandchildren. My oldest is a 4th generation Santa Wildcat. He's a big kindergarten this year. But for 18 years, I've owned and operated my own businesses. I'm familiar with employees. I'm familiar with the payroll. I'm familiar with how to handle the everyday works of a business. And the JP office is a business. It brings in, last year it brought in $600,000. If you don't know how to handle that money and know where it goes, and keep up with it, I mean, the JP, they're responsible for that money. So also, I like my age. I'm 20 years prior, I'm at least 20 years older than my opponent. And with that, I think comes, maturity, it comes knowledge, I believe it comes life lessons, and I think that is instrumental in being the JP. I'm sorry for going over, but I'll talk over one here now. We have thousands of dollars of blood, sweat, and tears in these campaigns, so I don't think you can put a time limit on what Lena say. Thank you.
Okay. Megan, you're next.
Good evening. My name is Megan McCoy Hughes. As you know, I'm running for Justice of the Peace, Precinct 1. My parents are Lloyd Dawn McCoy and Gwen Phil McCoy, and I'm a lifelong resident of Palo County. My public service began in 2011 in Parker County Jail. In 2013, I began working closer to home at the Palo County Jail. My roles included detention officer, field training officer, corporal, and sergeant. Serving in these leadership roles has strengthened my accountability, integrity, and public safety for 11 years. In 2021, I transitioned to the Palo County Probation Office, where I continue to serve this county today. Throughout my 15 years of public service, I've worked closely with the Justice of the Peace offices, as well as many other county offices. My husband and I attend the Palo County Cowboy Church and live out our lives with the faith of Jesus Christ daily. I respectfully ask for your vote for this position. Thank you.
Megan, stay up there. Thank you. Can you describe a time you had to make an unpopular but correct decision?
Oh yeah. Where to start? Obviously, there's lots of decisions you have to make in a jail daily. especially whenever you're running a shift as a sergeant. You know, I was over several people there. I have a caseload in the probation office, you know, where obviously you're not always the most popular. You know, sometimes when people do something wrong, there are consequences. I'm being put on the spot, makes it a little bit harder in these situations. Give me just a second. I got to apologize. Unpopular decisions. I really don't know.
I think you did great.
Answered,
You
okay.
did great. No,
Thank you.
You're awesome. Fritz? I'll repeat the question. Can you describe a time you had to make an unpopular but correct decision?
Ma'am, I have 4 kids. And a wife. And I make unpopular decisions every day. But all joking aside, I've run a very successful business for 18 years. And daily, you have to make decisions. You have to stick with them. You have to have integrity. And you have to back up what you say. But, you know, decision making is part of the job, and I understand that. But you just have to go with your gut. When making a decision on law, it's simple. There's 3 things to use. You use the law, you use the facts, and you use common sense. And I think if you'll use those 3 right there, you'll be fine in everything you do. As before to JP. Thank you.
Stand What would you do if you recognized someone in your courtroom or had a personal connection to a case? You have 2 minutes.
I think if you have a personal connection to the case, I think with integrity, you need to step off of it. I mean, but as far as people coming in my courtroom, I've lived here for 38 years. I know I used to know everybody in this area, you know, what they moved in, but that's the job. I mean, that's the oath you take. I mean, you've got to stand up, you've got to do what's right. And, you know, afterwards, sure, we can be friends, but when they're in that courtroom or they're in that jail, you know, I've got to do my job. You know, I've got bosses, and I'm looking at every one of them. You know, if I don't do my job, I get voted out. And the same way with my company. You know, people used to say, oh, you're lucky you got your own company, you have a boss. No, I've got a lot of bosses. Everybody that calls that phone, everybody comes in that driveway and buys something from me, that's my boss. And I carry that over, and I will carry it over to this. I've never failed at a task, at a job. I want this one. I will be a good JP. And you know, you gotta reach down your heart, and you gotta do what's right, regardless of who's in front of you. Thank you.
Want me to repeat the question?
Please.
What would you do if you recognized someone in your courtroom or had a personal connection to a case?
Obviously recuse yourself. Being a lifelong resident of Alabama County, I got outlaws, I got in-laws, and I've seen them all. And with experience of working in the jail, family members walk through the door every day, and you can't treat them any different than you do anyone else that walks through the door. Everybody should be treated equally.
Thank you so much. And since you're standing up there, would you mind doing your closing statement? You have 1 to 2 minutes.
Sure. If elected as your justice of the peace, my top priorities will be to apply my knowledge of the criminal justice system while continuing to learn and grow to ensure that everyone is treated fairly. I will work to maintain a professional and accessible office that serves the people of this county with integrity and respect.
Thank you.
want everybody to know I was a criminal justice major in college, but it didn't pay what Colville did, so I made a career move. So I've had criminal justice background, but in closing, you know what a convenience store owner, a preacher, and investment banker have in common? They're all either former or current JPs in Pelican County with no law enforcement background. One was over 46 years, and one is an Stark County judge. So I don't think you have to have, law enforcement background to be a JP. You have to have integrity. You have to have good common sense. I can learn how to run a court. I can learn how to magistrate the jail. I can learn to keep a FedEx border. I can learn to be the coroner. And that's what nobody's, we're also the coroner. That's what nobody's mentioned. It's not the fun part of the job, but we're also going to be the coroner. What I can't learn is what was instilled in me by my parents, my God-fearing parents, and I grew up in a Bible-based home. And that's integrity, selflessness, honesty, and common sense. And I think those traits go a long way when you have to judge somebody, because you're going to be up against some difficult times, I know that. But to be a good JP, I believe that those traits are vital in doing a good job. I'm asking for your vote, and I promise you, you will be well represented. Thank you.
Thank you. So again, we are allowing questions from the audience to these two candidates running for Justice of the Peace Precinct 1. Does anybody have a question?
Bill, we're not taking turkey feet questions.
Maybe.
We have nothing to do with
Do you have the other microphone? Anybody? You're not gonna put these guys on the hot seat at all? Okay, you're all free to go. Okay, the next candidates I'd like to have come up are for county clerk. Oops, I'm going to find it. It's too short for me anyway. So, Amanda Figueroa. Sorry. Oh, there she is. And Tish Bien had some really bad news in the last 24 hours. Her 31-year-old son suffered a stroke and is in critical condition, and we're gonna pray for her and her son right now. So if you wouldn't mind bowing your head in prayer. So Lord, we just lift up Tish and her son. Lord, a 31-year-old kid with a stroke. We know that you are on the throne and that you can make all things right. Lord, please be with his family, give them peace and discernment, and just help them to feel your presence more than anything. Lord, we pray that you will heal this young man. He has a hole in his heart and a blood clot in his leg, Lord. But you are the creator and just a good father. So we just lay this at your feet. It's overwhelming. So she called me this morning, and Lord, my heart goes out to her as a mom. So thank you for being with her, and we ask this in your son's holy name, Jesus. Amen. Amen. So I told her I would read her bio. And Amanda, you're all by yourself up here, so. I can only type. There we go. So here is her bio. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah, okay. Is that better? Yeah, hold on. Give me that one. Okay, let's see. Is that better? Okay, Tish Lemley Bien is a fifth-generation resident of Palo Pinto County with deep roots in the community. She is married to her husband Bobby and a proud mother of 3 sons and 6 grands with 1 on the way. She brings years of public experience, having served as city secretary for the city of Drayford, working as the clerk for Mineral Wells, Parks and Recreation Department, and held a position with Palo Pinto Court Precinct 5 as court clerk, and chief clerk. Since 2018, she has held the position as Justice of the Peace for Precinct 5. Her career has given her hands-on experience in records management, customer service, and local government operations. Tisha is committed to integrity, efficiency, and responsive service, and she values preserving the traditions of Palo Pinto County while ensuring county offices operate accurately and transparently for all citizens. And then I'm just going to read a tiny little thing here about the office of county clerk. A county clerk is an elected or appointed official who manages official county records, oversees elections, and maintains documents such as licenses, deeds, and court filings. The clerk ensures public records are accurate, accessible, and legally compliant. So, Amanda, why don't you step up to the microphone there, and we're going to ask you some questions. Friendly questions. Yes. Please introduce yourself and tell us why you are the best person for this position.
Hi, my name is Mandy, or Amanda Figueroa. Some of y'all do know me as Mandy. And I'm running for Palo Pinto County Clerk. I've been a resident of Palo Pinto County Clerk for most of my life, and I'm a graduate of Strawn ISD. My husband Jason and I have been married for 27 years. We have 2 daughters, and our family is proud to call this county home. I began government service career in 2010 in a combined county clerk, district clerk office in Hartley County, where I gained hands-on experience in clerk duties and elections. I later worked in the Eastland County District Attorney's Office before joining the Palo Pinto County Clerk's Office, where I work now. I joined them in 2019. Over the past several years, I've completed extensive training, worked directly alongside our current clerk, giving me a strong understanding of the office and its responsibilities. If elected, my priorities are a smooth transition, accurate records, and respectful customer care. Thank you for your consideration.
What is your management style, and how would you support and train staff?
So I think everybody in the office should be cross-trained. And I do think everybody needs to know at least the basics to be able to help people whenever they do come to the office and they're asking for something. Not just one person can help. I think everybody in the office should be able to pitch in and help that person. So whether it be looking for deeds, looking up criminal records, anything, looking up plats. So I think everybody should have a hand in it and know how to do it.
Thank you. County clerks oversee records and processes that directly affect voting, property ownership, and public trust. What specific steps would you take to ensure accuracy, security, and transparency, especially when mistakes or challenges occur?
So right now, pretty much everything that we do in our office has checks and balances. 2 or 3 people are going to look at the same thing. And so that's where you catch your mistakes. If you've done something wrong, they're going to let you know about it. And I really support that idea of letting people know as soon as you find something wrong, you let them know so they know in the future to not do that mistake anymore. And I will strive to do that as a clerk. Like, just bring everybody in, say, hey, this happened. We don't need to do this anymore. This is how we're going to take care of it. That way everybody's on the same page.
Right. Thank you. And last but not least, your closing remarks.
So Palo Pinto County's been my home for most of my life, and I was raised in Strawn, went to Strawn ISD. My career began in the county clerk's office, where I learned all kinds of things. That's where I learned my love for county clerk, especially the criminal procedures, because that's what I do now. I really enjoy that part of it. But I have learned every single position in my office to know how to do it, at least the basic, And if I have any questions, I have a whole network of clerks that I have met going through conferences and trainings that I could call and ask at any moment if I have any questions. So I really feel like not just me, but everybody else in the office does know the basics of how to do things. And if it comes up where we don't know what we're doing, we will call another clerk and get that figured out.
Okay, excellent. Great job. Okay, does anybody have any questions for Mandy or Amanda? Anybody? All right, you're off the hot seat too. All right, great job. Okay, so the next candidate, the other woman is not going to be able to make it, but Deanna Copeland, who's the incumbent county treasurer, is coming forward here. So I'm going to read what the county treasurer office does. So here it is. A county treasurer is responsible for managing the county's finances, including collecting taxes, safeguarding public funds, and overseeing investments and disbursements. The treasurer ensures county money is handled accurately, transparently, and in accordance with the law. So, Deanna, why don't you come on up? And the question is, it's a shocker, introduce yourself and tell us why you're the best person for this position.
I'm Deanna Copeland, actually Deanna Gilbert Pilkington Copeland, for those of you that have known me through my life. I've lived in Palo Alto County my whole life. Can you hear me now? I'm sorry, I'm not really concerned.
Yeah, you can't hear us.
Okay. Hello, can you hear me now? Okay. I'm Deanna Copeland, and I have lived in Palo Alto County my whole life and for multiple generations. And Santo, where we're at, is my home. I don't live too far from here. My husband, Brian, and I, he's not able to be here tonight. Between us, we have 6 children and 10 grandchildren. So we got lots of love. My parents, AC and Linda Gilbert, are here tonight. Aunt and Uncle Ryan and Freda Patterson. Other aunt and uncle, Ronald and Cindy Edwards, are here. Got some cousins thrown in. But, anyway, so this is my home. And I've worked for the county in the treasurer's office for 16 years. This is my 4th year as the treasurer. And I think I'd like to stick around for a while longer, so I'd appreciate your vote.
Great, thank you so much. Your first question is, what do you think are threats to the county budget, and how do you mitigate them?
My office does not handle the processing of how the budget is just arranged. My office is only in charge of making sure the funds are distributed correctly and according to state law and state statute. So my office doesn't decide where the budgeting funds go, except for making sure they're handled correctly.
Okay, great. If you were pressured by county officials to release funds improperly or bend financial procedures, how would you handle it? And that never actually even happened.
That has not happened to me, but I have heard from other treasurers at conferences that it has happened. Bottom line is, if something comes through to be paid through accounts payable and it is a questionable invoice, then I do have the right to not sign that check. So, and I have not had to do that because we have a lot of checks and balances in between the treasurer's office and the auditor's office. Everything is dual control. So that is not an issue. But if something does come up or something isn't correct, it is stopped and not paid.
What has been your biggest challenge working as the county treasurer, since you've had a lot of experience?
Well, A very smart lady told me that once I was elected, that my hourly rate would go way down. And I believe she is here tonight. But mostly just the long hours that most people do not understand that it takes to handle all the different aspects of the office. The long hours of making sure all the accounts are balanced, all the payroll is done, and the training, I am required to have 20 hours of training every year, and that's just at one conference, and I try to go to 2 conferences, can't get enough training. And the input from the other treasurers throughout the state is, you can't deny the experience from everyone, so that's the good part.
Yeah.
But mostly the long hours and just handling all the different aspects that are in the office.
Has there been any highlights that you would like to share in the office?
Highlights. Well, going from being the assistant treasurer to being the treasurer is a pretty good highlight for me. So I was very blessed to have a great predecessor that has trained me on making sure that everything is done according to the law, according to the policies and procedures and statutes, and if there's a question as to why something was done a certain way, to be able to look up that law and prove how to handle that. So that was a great blessing to have a great lady ahead of me to teach me the ropes.
And then your closing remarks.
Well, like I said, I've been in the treasurer's office for 16 years. Before that, I was at the Holland Lake Nursing Center in Weatherford, the business office manager for 11 years. And before that, I was with First National Bank of St. Joe for 10 years. So, like I said, I've got a great family, husband, 6 kids, 10 grandkids, and I would appreciate your vote.
All right, thank you. All right, does anybody have any questions for the county treasurer? Deanna Copeland. I know Steve does.
I do.
Yes, you do. You always ask it.
Does she believe in the elimination of?
Yeah, do you believe in the elimination of property taxes? Here. He really wants to know this.
That's not a,
Yeah, this, your own.
anyway, that's not a decision I would make, so I don't have an opinion on that, but the taxes that do come into the county are distributed to different entities and to help pay for payroll, so I don't think getting rid of property taxes would be a good idea. And there's too many people that benefit from them.
They're a big part of the budget, right?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
He always brings it up. Ask the county treasurer if she. Okay. Anyway, anybody else have a question? Okay, thank you so much. Great. Now, we're going to move to the office of the Republican County Chair, and that is Barbara Upham and Steve Gray. And so I'm going to read the job description briefly here. The Republican County Chair leads the local Republican Party organization, coordinating party activities, supporting candidates, and organizing volunteers and fundraising events. They work to promote the party's platform and build voter engagement at the county level. So Steve won the coin toss, so Barbara gets to go first. So Barbara, come on up here, and I will ask this very easy question. Introduce yourself and tell us why you would be the best person for this position. You have 1 minute. Can everybody hear me?
We're good? Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Upham, your Republican County Chair. I am so glad to be here tonight with my fellow conservatives. I was born and raised in Mineral Wells, where I attended mineral wells and schools and graduated from high school. I attended the University of Texas at Arlington, where I received a BBA in accounting. I am currently the 4th generation owner of my family's business up in oil and gas company. I am the mother of 2 daughters and I have 3 granddaughters. I have been involved in agriculture and oil and gas all of my life. As we all know, the Palo Pinto County area is changing. We have new business coming in as well as new people. As I've said before, we want to be a Republican Party for everyone, no matter if you are new or native, young or old. I believe the Republican Party has an obligation to share our conservative values and grow the party. Thanks for coming tonight, and I'm asking for your vote.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Steve Gray. I'm evidently the new kid on the block. I've only been here 12 years. I chose to come here to retire where my 2 kids and 8 grandkids could come hang out in the lovely Palo Pinto County. It's a fabulous place. It's the most friendly place we've ever been. I've been on the fire department 10 of those 12 years. I've fought fires in every corner of Palo Pinto County, including Mineral Wells, PK, and the southern part down here. I'm a retired engineer from General Dynamics, where I worked for 30 years, doing a lot of airplane things on F-16s, F-22s, and F-35s, dealing with a lot of issues on airplanes, where I learned a lot about how to deal with interesting situations. I've voted for every presidential Republican candidate since Gerald Ford lost to poor old Jimmy Carter. But ever since, I voted for every one of them, including Trump 3 times. My main interest is getting the Palo Pinto County Party to engage with the state to help Texas stay red on all the various state issues.
Thank you. Stay there. In a Republican majority Texas House, should the Republicans give Democrats committee or subcommittee chairmanships? Meaning, should they give Democrats power in committees?
Well, that's a real quick answer. Hell no. Sorry. I mean, that just strikes me as outrageous. The Texas House is one of the very, very few legislative houses in the state, in the United States that does that. The nearest one to what we do is, guess what? Minnesota. Minnesota has a power sharing arrangement similar to this. You can talk to Governor Tim Walz about how that works. I don't want to see Texas go there, but we said we don't want to make Texas California. I don't want it to be Minnesota either. Every House committee now has a Democrat deputy chairman. I don't know if you know that. There were some things last cycle, the way they got out of giving them chairmanships is to give them all subcommittee chairmanships. And that is where legislation for conservatives goes to die. There were 5,000 bills submitted in the last cycle. 4,000 of them didn't get to a vote because they were held up in committee and the time ran out because, we only have 70 days in the legislative cycle. So the Texas House is where this really, really matters. I'm totally against having Democrats be subcommittee chairs.
All right, thank you. Barbara.
In committee deliberations and never get to the floor. So time after time, legislative session after legislative session, things really don't get passed that should. So to win the majority, you should have the majority. You should have the chairmanships.
Thank you. Stay up there while you're there. Okay, thank you. So, Barbara, at one of the last Republican Executive Committee meetings, there was a resolution written by the Conservatives requesting the City Council of Mineral Wells to consider lowering the water rate to the proper amount. Currently, the citizens of Mineral Wells and some of the wholesale customers like Santo are being charged for a $200 million debt, when in reality, there's only $96 million on the books. You tried to stop the resolution from going to a vote. Why?
Because it did not have any jurisdiction with the governing body, the City of Mineral Wells, or the Palo County Water District Number 1. There just is not a jurisdiction. There was no legal standing. It was something that was party involved. That was the reason.
Thank you. Steve? Unless you have more. Do you want me to repeat the question?
Sure.
Okay. Actually, yours is a little different since you were not the county chair. So if you were the county chair, would you support the resolution which is asking for the City of Mineral Wells to consider to reduce the water rate, and why?
Yeah, so that was a key word you just used. When we submitted the resolution, I wrote most of the resolution. It probably did say demanding that this happen. We agreed to modify that fairly immediately in the whole discussion to be a recommendation per what Barbara was saying. The problem is the Mineral Wells people, Santo people for sure, and pretty much everybody that gets water out of the lake is going to pay a huge amount of money. And you know, it's 146% right now. It hasn't been explained well. There's been a lot of traffic on the internet about who said what and who showed what and so forth. But the bottom line is people don't understand it, and they're paying in advance on the $200 million when only 96 has been actually billed, actually taken out to pay interest on. And with the year-long delay already, it's going to be longer than a year. It's going to be, you know, the budgeting was for $200 million. It's already going to be $450 million. And by the time it actually goes forward, who knows how much it's going to be. So the point of the resolution was simply to advocate for the people that are paying the water bills so that they could understand what they're paying for, and they could segregate the money that was being collected against the bills that are already coming in to pay the interest, because they have to do that. So the point was, explain this to us and don't and segregate the money so that it doesn't just vanish into the ether, and explain it to the people so they know what they're paying for. And frankly, probably it would be better to figure out a new plan, because this is just happening and the money's going away. So the Conservative Party should, and the Republican Party should have championed this issue to the state, to the city, and to the water board to explain it to the people and justify it and be able to vote on it, frankly.
Okay, thank you. Stay up there. So, closing remarks.
Okay, closing remarks. Like I said, I'm the new kid on the block. I'm a believer in term limits. I think term limits, I think one of the other candidates earlier today said something about, you know, term limits are good for change, for people using it, you know, knowing how to do new things, bring new blood to the system. And I would like the opportunity to do that for the county. I think I would like to engage the county more in state politic issues so that Texas does not become California, like I mentioned earlier. There are a number of issues where we need to educate people, have more meetings like this, where we can have people come in who are experts on the various issues that come before us for voting on propositions. There's a whole raft of propositions on the upcoming ballot that we should talk about beforehand so people are educated about them and can vote, you know, with a background on what the question is all about. And I'd like to do that, and I would appreciate your vote.
I am running again to serve the voters and candidates of Palo Pinto County who share the Republican Party's philosophy and values. I am running for county chair to keep the Republican Party growing and evolving and relevant to current issues. I am running for county chair to support local voters, local government, limited government, and conservative values. I am Barbara Upham, and I am asking for your vote to continue as your Republican County Chair. Thank you, and God bless Palo Pinto County.
Are there any questions in the crowd for these two candidates? Dave Bullock. Let me get the microphone. David Miller. You're not reading up. You're a singer, that's right, you're reading up.
As Republican Party Chairman, would you be willing, both of you, to take classes on Robert's Rules of Order in order to run a meeting correctly? Robert's Rules of Order.
Can you hear me?
Can you just repeat the question?
Yeah, I'll repeat it. I'll go here.
If you're elected, would you be willing to take classes and formal training on how to conduct a meeting with Robert's Rules of Order?
Right, so everybody get that, Robert's Rules. Robert's Rules are how meetings are conducted, generally speaking. How you make motions, how you first and second them, how you have debate, blah, blah, blah. Sure, I would be happy to do that. I've served on lots of committees. I've did stuff in school where I ran meetings that were all run by Robert's Rules. It can get pretty crazy if you ever watch the House television on how they really, really do it with, people getting in line and so forth. But it's something that people can do. I'm familiar with it myself, and sure, if people would like that to happen, I'd be happy to do that.
Barbara?
Oh yes, most definitely. I'm always trying to find the latest revised version of Robert's Rules of Order. Ever since I was first parliamentarian of my Brownie Scout troop, I never have found out who Robert actually was. I would like to meet the man. But yes, we do conduct our meetings, our conventions, under Robert's Rules of Order. Thank you.
I see a question over here. Let me walk. You're welcome.
This is for both of you. I would like to know how you feel about paper ballots. I know President Trump is really pushing it. So I'd like to know how you feel about it.
Barbara, you're first on this one.
The issue of paper ballots is really it's twofold. Although President Trump made a statement about paper ballots, that is harder than just talking about. It does not translate as a directive from the Republican Party of Texas. Without the backing of the state party, we would have hand counting that would cost the party estimates of between $110,000 and $170,000. Along with that, we would need to have workers, over 300 plus workers, to just hand count the ballots, and we would have to find additional poll sites because countywide voting would no longer be allowed. This is a process that takes a lot of time to study. It takes a lot of time to plan. The state law that allows this was just passed in the most recent legislative session in 25. It really did not give enough time to prepare for the March primary.
Thank you. Steve?
This was one of the most divisive meetings we had this year, the County Executive Council. My view on paper ballots is when half of the nation doesn't trust the electronic voting systems, if it's 51% or 49%, doesn't really matter. When you should feel that if half of your nation doesn't trust the voting system, that you should change the voting system. And I believe paper ballots are a great thing. Maybe they're a little harder to do. Maybe they take a little more manpower. I'm not sure I believe the cost estimate is different because the cost estimates for electronic voting don't include system updates, system testing. It's like your laptop. You know, every year you find more bills that you have to pay every year, whether you do anything new or not. So I don't believe the actual cost difference is necessarily correct. The Republican Party of Texas is in favor of hand counting ballots. The Secretary of State is not in favor of it. And we've had lawyers come from the Secretary of State's office telling us why it's a bad idea. I think it's a great idea. I think we should move to that.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Oh, Patrick. Another one of my singing friends.
So, I think both of you are interested in expanding the Republican Party in Palo Pinto County. What specific steps would you take to do that?
I think there's Barbara first on this. Or I already know you first. Sorry, I'm not. Go ahead.
So the question is, what steps would we take to grow the party? One of the things we've done to grow the conservative Republican group, and like I said earlier, I think everybody that is on our conservative Palo Pinto team is Republicans or at least maybe independents. I don't think we found any Democrats. One of the things we've done is bring in very, very interesting and educate speakers who educate us on issues. We've brought in the president of the Republican Party of Texas. We had a joint meeting with the Republican Party group on that one. We brought in Ted Cruz's dad. We shared that with the Republican Party, the official party. But we brought in literally dozens of other people on all of the major hot button topics so that people can talk about it. We brought in 3 people to talk about vouchers, educational vouchers. We brought in a person who said, you know, I'm all in favor of vouchers. We brought in one person who said, I really don't want vouchers. And we brought in a person that had another opinion altogether. And they talked very civilly for about an hour. It was a very fascinating discussion where people could go in and hear multiple sides of an issue. And I think that's what we need to do.
Thank you, Steve. Barbara, you're up.
Well, as I said in my opening, we have grown to be one of the reddest counties in Texas. We are strongly conservative. And I believe that we need to all pull together, hitch up, pull together. You saw the Clydesdales in the Super Bowl. Hey, they know how to pull together. So we need to pull together, work for our conservative values, work for Texas, and work for Palo Pinto County.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions for the county chair position?
Okay, you're on the hot seat. All right, thank you so much. So now I would like to have Marshall Matthews come to the front. He is running for precinct chair of Sancho. We heard from Ronnie Patterson who had to leave. And I'm going to read a real quick description of what a precinct chair does. A precinct chair represents their political party at the neighborhood level by organizing voters, recruiting volunteers, and serving as a link between residents and party leadership. They help increase voter participation and support party candidates within their precinct. So, come on up here, Marshall, and I'll ask you some questions.
Am I the last one?
You're not the last one. The state rep is the last position. We're getting close though.
All right.
So, Marshall. Now I know my. Here we go. Introduce yourself and tell us why you are the best candidate for this position.
Okay, my name is Marshall Matthews. My family's been here since '99. I've got 2 boys and a daughter. Daughter lives in Fort Worth. Her husband is he's a lawyer for the biggest firm in Dallas. My 2 boys, I'm real proud of them. We're all 3 Charleston grads. One of the superintendent over at Scott Reed in Dallas, and the other one is out in Laughlin right now at T6 in training and wants to fly jets. Probably following his dad's steps, I mean his granddad's footsteps. If you know Kenny Matthews, that's my dad. And he flew for Delta and tried Delta. I'm your current precinct day chair. I've been doing this work for the last year, worked through this year, and hopefully another 2 years. I did go to the convention last year, learned a lot there. Didn't know much about chairs. I'm also your Station 8, volunteer Station 8. I'm one of the chiefs there. And so I'm very involved in this community. I started going to some of these conservative meetings with Joey and Dave, and I really appreciate the education we all get at those meetings. She has some fascinating people come speak. I encourage everyone to come do that.
Okay, thank you, Marshall. Your first question. What are your feelings regarding the Trump paper ballot initiative, where he is wanting to get rid of voting machines and mail-in ballots?
Okay, yeah, this came up earlier. This seems to be a hot topic. Precinct 8 is one of the largest precincts in this county. In fact, it might be the largest. When you get on as precinct chair, you find out how many voting delegates you have, and most of the 30 chairs are somewhere around 5, 6, 8. We have almost 40. And so I have a signal thread that I use for all those delegates, and anybody else that's interested would be happy to add to that thread. But as I've gone through that list and put posts on that list, the response I get is overwhelmingly they want to move to paper. What didn't get mentioned earlier is that we do have 300 people who already volunteered to do that, and the cost don't seem to be there. That being said, I don't believe that we've approached this correctly. I don't think we've given this the time it needs to review. When we do fire, we come up with action items and challenges, and the way that we handle those, if we can't vote on them that night, then we break off into a committee that can focus. And so we get a focus group that looks at the opportunities and the options. This is what we were trying to do. Joey was following the same format that we followed at the conservative meetings, but we did it in one of our meetings. We had someone there to review, and that meeting didn't go very well. Those focus groups, those committees will look at this, take a deep dive, come back, report to the collective executive committee, and then we need to make a decision from there. But that didn't happen. And the leadership of our chair committee, or chairs right now, that just wasn't a format that we followed, and I believe that's something that everyone knows is common sense and probably should have done in that situation.
All right, thank you. In a Republican majority Texas House, should the Republicans give Democrats committee or subcommittee chairmanships? Meaning, should they give Democrats power in committees?
Yeah, I like the way Steve answered that. No, absolutely not. I don't know why we would do that. What we have seen nationally is every time we seem to give some grace there, what happens is we end up with tactics. We end up with delay tactics. We never seem to get where we're going. I would really like to see something happen this year. We've got a lot of that going on in our immediate chair group. I don't quite understand it. I know where it's coming from. I fought it with fire, and I'm seeing it now in the chairs. And quite honestly, I see a lot of the same people. It's really interesting. We are the growing area down here. We have a lot of momentum and a lot of say in this county now. In fact, this precinct is the biggest area of growth. We're seeing it on all the data points with fire. So we have the opportunity to communicate more, to know what the people in this precinct want. Communications, obviously, as you can tell, is a pretty good thing.
Could you give us your closing statement?
I wrote something down. I probably better just freestyle it, but I'll just freestyle it. We're in a transition. I just said we've got a lot going on here. This is a great opportunity for us to come together. I love hearing from you. If you want my number, I want you to have it. I live here in this immediate area. I'm on scene for probably 98% of all the fires in Big, so I have the opportunity to meet a lot of people and talk to them. And whether we're doing a control burn or, God forbid, something worse, we're usually communicating with those families, and I ask a lot of questions. I was asked to do this. I'm on the volunteer fire team. Now I'm on Joey's chair team. I'm also on the stewardship and worship team at Fairview Baptist. My kids are out of college, and so I like to get back, and I enjoy what I'm doing. I'm self-employed. It gives me some flexibility in this town. But yeah, I appreciate your vote. I want to keep working hard for you.
So does anybody have a question for Marshall? Marshall Matthews.
Thank you. I've got a comment about something earlier that we just mentioned.
Sure.
Then probably an uneducated question that you can help me out with. All right. The first comment was, we're all talking about these paper ballots. That comes back down to the integrity of the voting, right? The number one thing in the country where there's an issue with the integrity is IDs. And this state is leading the country with regards to the state ID. In fact, being in another state, you walk into your voting, this is true. You walk in to vote and you show them your ID, they'll actually look at you and say, "We don't need to see that." That's true, right? So the state's already leading it, so I think it's fantastic. We're talking about continuing to lead the country with regards to paper ballot things. So I appreciate everybody saying that. Now, my question that might be uneducated. Forgive me if it is, Mr. Matthews. How do we make sure that any kind of gerrymandering, or whatever they call that, with the gerrymandering, whatever, how do we make sure that doesn't happen here in this county? How can you help make sure that it doesn't happen?
Okay. The review we've done on the Harris machines was quite interesting. And I don't know that everybody's really paying attention to this, and I think it needs to be, for whatever reason, it's a hot topic. And we have a handful of people in this immediate area that have quite a heavy opinion on this. And again, I think it goes back to a better education of these systems. We have met with the gentleman that represents the Harris machines. He has openly admitted that they can be accessed, just not as well as the other ones. So I don't know. I think, again, it goes back to communication. We've got to get the word out. People have to give us your feedback on what you think, what you want. Right now, it's part of the Republican agenda. That's been made very clear. And I don't know why we wouldn't do it if we had the 300 volunteers. Let me tell you who else has done it. Hays County, Eastland County, Gillespie County. How about this one? Dallas County. They're all moving to it. So whether I'm for it or not, I think that suggests on its own merit that something's going on there. I think it's interesting. I don't quite understand the response that we got when we invited the young lady to come speak about Echo 65. It was an interesting meeting. And we did have to adjourn the meeting, and then we actually picked up again that same night, and some of us met over there and got to hear what she had to say. That's what the conservative Republican group in this immediate room is wanting to do. It's all about, let's take a look at this. We didn't even know where to start, but it sure sounded like an interesting topic, and Joey brings a lot of interesting speakers to those. I hope that I answered your question.
Okay, anybody else for Marshall Matthews, Precinct 8? Okay, thank you, Marshall.
Thank you.
So our last speaker is our state representative, Mike Olcott.
And would you mind coming up, please? Opponent backed out of the race, and so she's still going to be on the ballot. So it's very important that y'all check the box because it's important. Some other races, some people still got some votes. So please make sure you do this. He was voted the number one. Well, I'm not going to blow my question about that. So anyway, here he goes. I'm going to sit down and ask you questions. Okay. Sorry, no, I messed up my notes. Okay, guess what? Introduce yourself and tell us why you're the best guy for the position.
My name is Mike Alcott. I think I'm the best person for the position because right now I'm the only one actually running. But as you said, my opponent is on the ballot, so we need everyone to show up and vote. And I think is this where you go to a little bit of yourself? Is that what you want? Yeah. So okay, 1 minute. Okay. So Mike Alcott, retired biochemist, fifth generation Texan. I was an activist for probably 18 years before I became elected. I was Republican precinct chair for 7 years, which I loved being. It was actually, I think, considered one of the most important elected positions that you can do. Because you can have almost more effect on what your elected official is doing than anything else you do. Because if you're an active precinct chair, you're out knocking doors, you can educate the voters. Because one of the reasons why we have so much trouble and why we elect so many bad people is because people don't know what they're doing.
Right. Thank you. So your first question. You were voted the most conservative state rep in the Texas House. How did you get such a high rating? Meaning, what bills did you pass? How did this happen?
So, probably the one you're talking about there is the Rice University. There's a guy named Mark Jones, a professor at Rice University, that actually puts all the votes that we take. He's been doing this for at least 15 years, if not 20 or longer. He puts them all in a computer and uses an algorithm. He basically rates people from the most conservative to the most liberal, or the other way around, however you want to look at it. And so based on, strictly on my voting record, it was how I voted. I was rated the most conservative member of the Texas House out of 88 Republicans. And actually, if you looked at all 150 members, obviously the Democrats would be even more liberal. But it was interesting, we had a couple of Democrats that came very close to being even more conservative than 2 or 3 of our most liberal Republicans. So, but there were some other conservative organizations. I got a 99% for Texans for fiscal responsibility. Texas Values gave me 96%. Texans for Strong Borders gave me 100%. So there were a number of other organizations. And those organizations look at select bills on the topics that they specialize in. But the Rice University is the one that I'm the most proud of because it literally looked at all 4,100 votes I took and considered me the most conservative.
Nice. Okay. At one of our last meetings, you stated that you have grown extremely concerned regarding the Islamification of Texas. Can you tell us more about your concerns?
Sure. So it's an issue that I've been aware of for some time now, but it wasn't like on the front burner. And I will admit that like this last legislative session, very few of us were even talking about it. There were a few of us that were meeting about it every once in a while, but it wasn't a hot topic, and none of us even really had legislation to address it. But then Epic City got on the news in the summer. I began doing some research and seeing what, if y'all haven't seen what's happening in London and in Scotland and Paris, it's pretty frightening. The Islamists are taking over not only positions of authority in cities like mayor, but they're also taking over the police departments. And I've seen some atrocious things happening to young women in Britain, and they're not being prosecuted because the police chief happens to be of that religion. And really the only people being arrested in England right now are the parents of these children that are actually speaking out on Facebook because they're upset that there's no justice. And fortunately, America we have the First Amendment right, so I'm hoping that we don't go down that path. But that's something that we have to address. It's I've been meeting about once a month now with a group of us that we've been getting briefings, and it's some pretty scary stuff. Texas is the #1 target of jihadists right now, and they are determined. You would think they'd pick on an easier state, but they've designated Texas. We've had, when I read last week, more than 24 mosques built in the DFW area just in the last 2 years. Houston is a big problem, and so the Epic City was just a red flag. It was a warning. It was the tip of the iceberg. We've had some very radical imams move to Texas, from Tennessee in particular, that have said this is ground zero, and we have to do something about it because we will lose our country if we don't do something about it. One last thing, I was informed that, and I haven't seen the study myself, but I have seen or been told by some experts on this issue that if we don't do something about it, by the year 2049, Muslims will have the majority in the state of Texas.
Okay, thank you. There was a recent event that caused Parker County citizens to be very concerned about this Muslim issue. Can you shed some light on that and what happened with that?
Sure, and that's another incident that happened. I think that actually happened in the spring, and that was before Epic City kind of got a lot of attention. Or maybe it was around the same time. But it turned out that I don't think it was as big issue as we initially thought. I got phone calls and emails nonstop. I was in the middle of voting 14 hours a day, but I would come back to my office and I'd hear about it. But the best I could tell, and I haven't had a chance to research as much, but this is what I've been told. There was a family that's lived in the Peace area for a long time, 30, 40 years, and they had a 40-acre plot. The problem is they, either the name of that plot or the 2-acre plot they were trying to redesignate or rezone was considered like the progressive Muslims. And that's something that made news, and it packed the county courthouse. But what I've been told is that this family, a lot of their family, a lot of their neighbors think they're really nice, peace-loving people, and that the person, one of the family members went off and joined the Army, came back, and they were trying to basically take 2 acres and set it aside so he could build a house on it. At least that's the version that I've heard. But one thing that it did bring attention to is the fact that despite the public outcry over that issue, there was really nothing the county could do. Even had it been more nefarious, the county had their hands tied. And so that's one of the challenges that we're going to have in the state legislature next time, is to figure out how do we give counties the power to address situations that could be much more dangerous than that.
Okay, and now your closing statements. You have 2 minutes.
Yes. So I guess I'd like to close by saying I actually believe that the reason why I won the election 2 years ago was because I campaigned on conservative values that I believe represent the conservative values of this district, not just in Palo Pinto County, but in Parker County and Stevens County. And the voters trusted me, and I believe that based on my voting record, I think people will see that actually I did what I said I was going to do. And so I'm asking everyone here in the room to please vote for me. Give me a chance to go back down there and continue to fight for your conservative values, to give you much more property tax relief than you got. We had a $24 billion surplus. I'm sad to say that we only gave $6.5 billion back into the appropriate money in property tax relief. And that was despicable in my opinion. And that's the reason why I voted against the budget. I spoke out on the budget. I was the first person with a microphone to speak out against the budget. And just so you know, that's something you almost never vote against the budget. And it's just something you don't do. But I could not, with good conscience, vote for a budget that only gave that small a fraction of property tax relief. And I made it very clear to everyone in that room, all my colleagues, that we're getting ready to vote on that, and that's something that I'm going to do. And so 19 Republicans, all conservative Republicans, voted against that budget, and that was one of their primary reasons.
Great. Okay. Does anybody have any questions for our state rep, Mike Wolcott? Oh, Raymond.
You're going to kill me for this. I want to get your opinion on this bio lab that we heard about recently in Nevada, and how difficult or easy those are for the wrong people to develop those and things that what's our level of concern on that?
Well, I got to admit, Ray, I've been so focused on state politics, I'm not even aware of that, but I would like to hear about it. That's something that, I wouldn't say I'm an expert on bioweapons, but it's something that is the alley of what I used to do, and so I would like to hear more about it, but I know nothing about that, and I'm embarrassed to say that. That's, when you start not only, working as a state rep, but also in the middle of the campaign, national news has been kind of on the back burner, so I'm embarrassed to say anything about it.
We'll give you a pass on that one.
Okay.
Come back to it.
Anybody else? Nice straight arm up there. Here you go.
Thank you for coming tonight. You commented on your conservative values and your voting record. If your values are very conservative, can you tell us how many times you changed your vote and why you would change your vote if you're confident in your conservative values?
Sure. So I cast about 4,000, a little more than 4,100 times, and it's not a, when I went down there and I heard that actually happen, they sometimes change your vote. I was like, why do people do that as often as they do? I was not more often than most other people, but there are times where we're voting on bills like every 2 minutes at times, and sometimes you actually you're also strategizing. I'm going to my conservative colleagues talking about a really important bill that's coming up, 3 or 4 bills down the road, and sometimes you're away from your desk and you run back, you actually don't see what is the actual bill you're voting on. I will say this, during the special session, that almost never happened, because during the special session, we usually had 10, 15 minutes between each vote. So, I never liked having to change my vote, but I'll give you one example of what happened. I don't have a desk mate like most people do. There's certain desks in there that are actually by themselves, but one of my very conservative freshman colleagues, David Lowe, is sitting next to me. And we had been going and going and going and hadn't had a chance to eat, hadn't had a chance to go to the bathroom. And I finally said, David, there's a good bill coming up here, can you vote yes for me? And so I went to the bathroom, and while I was in the bathroom, I heard them calling that next bill. I was hoping to get back in time. And anyway, he cast a vote and he voted no for me. And he when I saw that he voted no, I said, why don't you do that? I told you to vote yes. And he said, well, I just figured you vote no against some of these bad bills that I thought maybe you wanted me to vote no. And so it turns out it was a very good Second Amendment bill. And so I went and changed my vote to reflect the fact that I'm a strong defender of the Second Amendment. So I changed the no vote to a yes vote. And so it's something that happens because of sometimes the speed in which we move down here on the floor of the Texas House. And it's not because I'm equivocating, it's simply because sometimes simply the speed causes you to do that.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Sorry.
Thanks for coming on here a lot. But I appreciate the time that you gave us as a school board member when Dr. Corleone pushed through legislation and the funding, what you voted for small school funding, that really helped impact Stanco tremendously. But my question is, it's no secret that our economy is actually the 6th strongest economy in the whole world. And with that comes companies that are coming into our state, and Governor Abbott done a great job of promoting Texas and Texas economy, but when is it enough? Because all of these companies are moving in, buying up our land, using up our water, our electricity. The infrastructure that's being built is just so massive, especially these little towns like Abilene and Glen Rose is trying to buy something right now. It's just, as a farmer's daughter, it's frightening to see all of our farmland being bought up for these huge conglomerates. And when is enough?
Sure. I agree. And one of the challenges we have is private property rights. When people own land here in Texas, we value those private property rights. And it's the same argument we have I'm not a big fan of wind turbines, and people out in Stevens County their land values plummeted 50% because of these wind farms. And so, I tried various different ways, working primarily with a few of the connections that I have in DC to do something about that. But at the end of the day, with private property rights tends to trump a lot of that stuff. As far as like the data centers and all those places moving in, yeah, it's creating lots and lots of problems. I mean, water is a big issue, but also the cost of material. One of the reasons why the cost of Turkey Peak doubled was because of all the data centers that have been moving in here. It's basically, and they can afford to pay more for construction, so that basically not only the materials, but the manpower, it's just it's a free market system, and people, it's creating increased costs, it's driving up inflation for construction, and so, but water is one of the top issues where we live, and we've got to do something about water, and that's something, probably as far as the data center, that's the one I'm most concerned about, and I know that one's going in Abilene. I know that the Parker County Commission's Court had a meeting about some data centers, just like exploring the possibility, but I was told no time in the near future is it going into Parker County, but there is, like I said, like you mentioned, Granbury, Abilene. So I'm quite confident that the issue you bring up is going to be a major issue this next session, and what can we do about it. But it's going to be a challenge because companies, and I will say that some of our top elected officials in Texas love the idea of all these companies moving. I'm not a big fan of it. I mean, I believe in free enterprise and everything, but I'm not a big fan of all these, especially the companies come from California that bring woke workers and stuff. But there's a bigger thing there. It's putting a big strain on our infrastructure.
Okay, thank you. Get my steps in. There you go. Thanks, Harold.
What's a realistic date of Turkey Peak being completed?
This isn't a hot button issue, is it? So I actually did attend a city council meeting, I think it was in the summer sometime, and after the session was over, I was back in district, and when they made the announcement that they were not going to increase the water rates anymore until they had, the meeting took place, I think, roughly a week after they found out they were kind of, according to them, blindsided by the doubling of the cost of Turkey Peak. And they had made the decision. One of the most optimistic things I heard in that meeting was the fact that the city council admitted that they cannot continue to raise the rates on the people of Mineral Wells. And I was not just Mineral Wells, but the people in this room here. So I was happy to hear that. But one of the things that I learned at that city council meeting, and afterwards I actually asked for a meeting with the mayor and the engineer and one of the finance guys for him to explain more what he said in the meeting. And that was the fact that we did pass a major legislation to create automatic funding for the water fund and to expand that and to make money accessible for projects, all kinds of water projects. And one of the ones I like the most of those, if I can digress for a second, is improving or repairing leaky water lines, because, and even the governor recognizes this, one of the easiest things and most low-hanging fruit we can do about water is to repair leaking water pipes. And that's, the city of Mineral Wells has a big problem with that. I mean, there's pipes that are leaking. And, I mean, this isn't just Mineral Wells, it's all over Texas, especially some of the older cities that have pipes that, are losing quite a bit of water. And so it's my understanding that one of the many purposes of this new funding mechanism of this water fund is actually to repair that. But it's also, there's going to be some grant money available, which in layman's term is free money. And so I learned at that meeting that the water district in Mineral Wells is hoping to tap into some of that and possibly get $200 million worth of free money to make this project work. The bad news is they won't even come into, it's going to be a year and a half before we even have an answer to that. So it's my understanding that we will know nothing about Turkey Peak, at least unless something else major happens. It's going to be a year and a half before we even have a decision whether Turkey Peak And like Steve said, by then, we don't know how much it's gonna cost, but, it's, you know, obviously these projects are a slow thing, but, yeah, the earliest we will even know whether it's gonna happen is a year and a half, so.
Okay, thank you. All right, Casey, there you go.
Thank you for coming, Mike. Sir, you mentioned property tax relief. There seems to be an ever-growing push to eliminate property taxes. That's kind of a three-part question. Do you ever see that happening? If so, would you support it? And if so, what would replace that revenue?
Sure. I absolutely support the idea of eliminating property taxes. I personally have some concerns that over the last two legislative sessions, we've made it more difficult to achieve that. And the reason is the Senate has a different version of property tax relief than the House. And all the time, I actually support the Senate version of things because they tend to be more conservative. The House version, the House is wanting to compress the M&O tax rate, taking state excess sales tax revenue and actually suppressing the M&O tax rate, which is roughly half of your property tax. Most of y'all, if you look at your property tax bill, you have 5 to 6 taxing entities. The one that's the biggest is the school district, and that's anywhere from 60 to 65%. The biggest component of your school tax is the maintenance and operation, or M&O tax. And so one of the ideas is we've been doing it since, I believe, 2019. Every year, the M&O tax rate has been compressed, meaning lowered, and the state makes up the difference with sales tax revenue. The Senate, on the other hand, has been taking a different approach, and this targets homeowners with the homestead exemption, and increasing your homestead exemption. So it used to be $10,000, $40,000, $50,000, but over the last couple of sessions, that's gone up to 100 to what? Now, this last session, for people over 65, your homestead exemption was increased to $200,000, meaning that if your house is worth $400,000, you subtract $200,000 and you're taxed on that $200,000, at least for the school. That's actually, most people, seniors in here probably saw some property tax relief. If your home if you're under 65, you went from 100 to 140,000, you probably saw none. And that's why I had an amendment to increase it to 160,000, because I knew the skyrocketing appraisal values were going to eat that up. But I ain't sure, Tom, my time's up, but I'll just tell you that the challenge is with this increase in homestead exemption, the state has to fund that every single year. And so it makes it a challenge on how to eliminate them altogether. And so that's one of the things making it tough. But I would love, and I believe the governor has a good plan to reduce property taxes, and I'm hoping that with him pushing it behind, it brings the House and the Senate together. We will not eliminate property taxes within the next 8 years. But there are plans out there, or at least there were, until we started filling with the homestead exemption, of eliminating within 8 years. The best way to do it is to cut government spending, and that's something that I'm a big believer in. Now, I guess that's my last question.
Is there any other questions?
Are we going to doge the Texas government?
I was on the DOGE committee, but I'm sad to say, it's the Department of Government Efficiency. Unfortunately, the chairman of the committee was more focused on making government more efficient, which is a good thing, but he's had no interest in actually doging, as you all know, like what Elon Musk was trying to do. I was all excited about being on that committee because there's nothing that I would love more, other than closing the border and deporting illegal aliens, there's something I would like more than to cut government spending, and that's what I thought we were going to be doing. Unfortunately, if anything, we actually increased government spending on the DOGE committee, because by making government more efficient, we created a few more agencies to streamline things, and so I was very disappointed in that. Now, the good news is the chairman of that committee is not coming back. So the big thing the Speaker of the Texas House has is who's he going to appoint this chair, because that will actually be a good answer on whether or not we can actually start truly doging the Texas government, and it needs to be. It truly does. I failed to mention this. This is an amazing turnout in Little Town of Santa. So I want to thank you all for coming. And I will be here around, I'll stay here as long as possible to answer any questions you might have individually. If you're shy like Joey or Lisa that don't want to answer questions, I'm more than happy to ask them personally. And I'm also would love to share you my cell phone number. But anyway, would love to talk to you. So thank you all for coming tonight.
Concludes our forum. I thank you all for coming. Be careful going down the stairs. And yeah, it's just great seeing you all. So have a great night.
Thank you, Joey.